Right, okay, so this may not be the most fascinating topic I'm ever going to go through tonight, but it is an important one. It's one I've avoided putting out for a little bit because I just wanted to make sure I waited till everything had settled down properly and we had all the correct information. Because it's been quite a period of adjustment with this and a lot of ambiguous information around. So now it's settled down a bit and everyone knows where they are, I feel much more comfortable putting some information out to you about this. Great, so let's get on with it. In the usual way, I will not be able to see the chat box. I'll go to the slides, and any questions you have on the way, please do type away, and I will come back to you at the end of the slides and just see if I can answer it for you. Not sure how long this to take. I don't think it's too long really, but let's just go through this and get this done so we're all aware of what we're up to. Okay, so GDPR, the law, and you as a practitioner. First of all, let me make this really absolutely clear. My disclaimer, okay? I'm not a lawyer, and this presentation does not in any way constitute any legal advice. Okay, this presentation is for information and guidance only. Each individual is responsible for ensuring that they or their business practice are up to date and fully compliant. Okay, however, I will do my best to help you stay informed where I can. All right, everyone. So the information I can tell you is to the best of my knowledge, but I'll give you some links later on so you can check out yourself as well. So let's just go through this and have an understanding of what it all means to you. All right, so GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. And it was kind of introduced in May last year, 25th of May 2018. I should point out actually that GDPR is actually a European regulation, right? The British one, the UK one, for those in the UK, to the best of my knowledge, are still come under the Data Protection Act. But the Data Protection Act, as the wording has been updated, so it's pretty much identical to the GDPR. Okay, but people generally calling it GDPR, right? So the aim, I took this from the ICO website. The ICO are the people overseeing data protection in the UK nowadays. The ICO is the Information Commissioner's Office. Okay, so it says data protection is about ensuring people can trust you to use their data fairly and responsibly. If you collect information about individuals for any reason other than your own personal, family, or household purposes, you'll need to comply. Okay, you need to comply. You'll see later on there's a difference between complying and registering, but I'll come on to that later on. UK data protection regime is set out in the DPA 2018, that's the Data Protection Act thing, along with the GDPR, which also forms part of UK law. Right? It takes a flexible, risk-based approach, which puts the onus on you to think about and justify how and why you use data. That means if you ask them a question, they don't always give you a straight answer, right? As we have found out, and lots of people I spoke to have found out. You can ask them a question and they say, well, go and read this guideline. And you can send them something and they say, I can't check it out for you. I sent them stuff directly. So please can you tell me if this is compliant? And they said, no, I can't. Go and read the regulations. I can ask them the question, they'll give you an answer, but it's very hard to get quite explicit answers unless you can ask a very, very specific question. Okay. But we have been asking many more specific questions lately and finally getting the answers we need. Okay. The ICO regulates data protection in the UK, and we offer advice and guidance, promote good practice, carry out audits and advisory visits, consider complaints, monitor compliance, and take enforcement action where appropriate. Okay, and that link is there. You can have a look at their website whenever you want to. Don't take a look at it now. Anything you need, I'm going to give you in this presentation, but you can have a nose at some stuff later on. Okay, so basically, it's just about taking care how you handle people's information, because we all know that in the past it's been abused or misused in different ways, and in a way this is a good thing. It's quite a bit of an admin nightmare as you adjust to this for larger organizations, but for yourselves it should be very, very simple, as hopefully I'll explain to you by the end of this presentation. Okay, so there are four main areas that I think you need to be aware of in the typical business you might run, or a practice you might run yourself as an individual therapist. Okay. So the first one is about the collection of information on client consultation or interview forms. Right, when you're taking those initial details there. The second area to be aware of is if ever you share information with a third party, could be, let's say, a GP or another professional or a referral you make or anything like that, you have to be aware of GDPR and data protection under those circumstances. The third area is the collection and use of information for marketing purposes. Typically, if you're doing this online, collecting information online, getting people to sign up for email lists or opt-ins, that kind of thing. And the fourth one is your registration as a data controller with the ICO, right? And I'll explain what that means a bit later on and whether you have to register or whether you don't, right? So these are the four areas that, from my understanding, that could be applicable to you as a practitioner, as an individual practitioner. Let's just go through each of these and what they mean and what you have to do and what you don't have to do, okay? Okay. So, the first bit there, okay, the collection of information on your client consultation or interview forms. Right? So, as well as any therapeutic agreement or any therapeutic questions on your form, you have to produce a privacy policy statement. Okay, now I'm going to give you a template for this. I think it may even be there already. I need to check, but we have created a template for you, and we'll make this available for you in the resources section of the members area. So all you got to do is just cut and paste it and pop it onto your form. It'll take you a few minutes of word processing, whatever that is. Okay, but you have to have a privacy policy statement. I just want to go through the bare bones of what you need to have in that, all right, and explain why you do that and why it's important. So these are the typical sections on your privacy policy, okay. And the sections the privacy policy must contain the following elements. It must explain about the confidentiality of the data. It must explain about the information you collect about your client. This is written from the perspective of you giving it to the client here. So the information we collect about you, the client, how we use it. The information about your rights as a client, how we use your information there, your rights there. How long we keep your information for, called data retention. The sharing of your data, the security of your data, and our lawful basis for processing your information. Okay, so in a way it's common sense. Like if I give you my information, well, what are you going to use it for? How are you going to look after it? And why should you even have it in the first place? All right, so that's what it's for. So let's just go through each of these sections just to make sure you understand what the simple wording is and what it means to you and what you can do with it. Okay, so confidentiality. This is an example of the privacy policy content. Just going to read it to you, go through each paragraph so we know what it means, and at the end of it we'll give you a link so you can have all this information. Okay, so confidentiality. So what we're saying to a client is that your therapy and your personal information are kept securely. In certain circumstances, information, but not names, may be shared with a supervisor or other relevant person acting in that capacity. Okay? It is my legal duty to breach confidentiality if I have concerns that you or anyone else is at risk. If this occurs, I will discuss it in the session along with any recommendations and document it in your notes. Okay? As a fully accredited member of whatever organisation we put there, I adhere to their ethical framework, guidelines, and code of conduct to ensure that you receive a professional and quality service. All right, so it's a really, really simple statement, just saying exactly that. We keep your stuff confidential, but actually if there's any risk, then we have to breach that confidentiality, but I do stick to the policy agreements of my organisation. All right, so that's, it's just common sense, it's just nice, polite information. All right, so that's what you have to say about confidentiality. Next section, the information we collect about you and how we use it. Okay, so upon starting therapy, I will collect basic personal information for contact and identification reasons. During our therapy meetings, an assessment of your psychological health will be completed and notes will be taken during sessions. You could say notes will be or may be taken during sessions. Okay, because I don't always take notes, so may be taken during sessions, right? So these may include personal and sensitive details about your life. And the assessment and notes are used solely for the delivery of a therapy service to you. Okay, so we're just telling them what information we might take and why we might do it and how we're going to use it. Okay, everybody? That's all it is. Next one. So your rights. Okay. It says you have rights relating to the information I hold to verify the accuracy or to ask for them to be supplemented, deleted, updated, or corrected. You have the right to request a copy of the information that I hold about you. Okay. If you'd like a copy of some or all of your personal information, please email or write to me via the contact details stated in this agreement. The information will be provided to you within 30 days. We want to make sure your information is accurate and up to date, and you may ask me to correct or remove information you think is inaccurate. You have a right to request the transfer of your data to another individual or company, and you have the right to complain to the ICO if you think there is a problem with the way in which your data is being handled. Okay, so really you're stating to the client just their simple basic rights. They can look at the information, they can get it changed, get it deleted. If they got a problem with it, they're allowed to complain. Okay, so that's the basic rights there. How long we keep your information for? This is called data retention. So this is a standard paragraph. We can adapt this depending on your situation, but your information is kept for the time necessary to provide the therapy service requested. However, outside of this, I will hold your details and session notes for a period of 7 years following the end of treatment to comply with legal obligations that are placed on me by my insurers. All right, so that may vary from insurance company to insurance company. 7 years is a standardish one that some companies use. All right, and there's a clause in there saying in the case of a child under 13, then records will be kept 7 years after they reach the age of majority, 18. After this date, all data will be securely deleted. So if your insurance company demands this, then you may have to hold on to some stuff for a long time. All right, but again, you need to check this with an insurance company. These are kind of the minimum things. If you do this, no one's going to ask for more than this, or be highly unlikely to ask for more than this. If you do this as the minimum, everything will be okay. All right. Next one, the sharing of data. Okay. There may be times when your information needs to be shared with third parties. I will explicitly ask your consent before doing so, and the data will be sent to third parties securely. All right. And this is because in the old days, we used to stick a little sentence on the form, right, saying, is it okay for me to share information with and contact your GP or something like that, yes or no? Right, that's the old way of doing it, but you can't do that anymore. Right, you can't have that included within another form. Okay, now to share information, you must get the client to complete a separate consent form. Okay, and I'll go through that later on and give you an example, and we'll give you a template for it later on as well. All right, so the sharing of data there, that simple 2-line paragraph there, but actually there's secondary implications of that. So if you do want to share information with the GP or something like that, you have to have a separate form to do that. Okay. Next one, the security of your data. Information will be kept securely and confidentially in line with the data retention policy as stated above. All right, so that's fairly simple. Just telling them we're going to keep the data secure. Next one, the final bit here. The lawful basis for processing your information. Okay. The lawful basis for my holding and using information is in relation to the delivery of a contract to you as a healthcare professional, and I operate under a strict code of confidentiality in accordance with the relevant professional bodies of which I am a member. Okay, so we're just saying we're a healthcare professional and we use this information based on the job we're doing. It's as simple as that, really. And a copy of this privacy notice is also available on my website and then you can just put a link to your website. All right, so that's kind of the information that needs to go into a privacy policy. So in a way, you can scan through it and think, oh God, it's a load of words, but actually when you break it down, it actually just makes common sense. It's just telling people how we're going to do their data and simple things about why we might have it. All right? And that comes together in a simple form like this. So you can't see the small writing there probably, but it's all those little sections I've just been through. It's just those summaries and those summarized. And let's say on the bottom of your client form, you just have our privacy policy and your data protection rights as another, like a subheading. Right? So when I give you the form later on, you'll see you can go through your client name, details, reason for attending, what do you want help with, how long have you had it, name of GP, blah, blah, all that stuff. And then you add these privacy policy and data protection rights to the bottom of that as well. Okay, so it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. You do not have to give a copy of this to your clients, right? They just need to look at it and sign the form. Okay, so anytime you're collecting their information, you need to have them aware of your privacy policy and their data protection rights, and for them to agree to that in some way or other. Okay, so that is the first part. The second bit, showing information with a third party, the consent form for that. So it's kind of it's kind of three sections to this form. The first bit at the top, it's just your details. Okay, so if you want to share some information with someone, if you want to refer someone to another practitioner or to a GP or a supervisor, something like that, you have to put your name there, your name, your contact number, your email, your full address, and then you write the client's name there. So, Mr. and Mrs. Miss Client, I require your consent to release personal and sensitive information to the following party for the following purpose. And you have to write the purpose there to tell them why you want to do that. All right. So this will be at like the top of the form. Okay. In the second part of the form, it will say, let's say if it's a GP, I consent to any relevant information being forwarded to my GP. Then put the GP's details, name and address there. The client's name goes there, and the client signs it and dates it just there. So they've agreed to that. All right. Or if it's to a third party, to somebody else, not a GP, then you put, instead of GP name obviously there, you put the name and address of the person you want that information to go to. The client puts the name there and they sign it, and date it. Okay, so that becomes a little form. Again, it might be too small for you to read, but it's just a simple form there like this, saying showing information with a third party consent form. All right, so all this replaces that little tick box that used to be on the form saying, yes, I agree to you contacting my GP, whatever. Can't do that anymore. You have to have a very separate form completed separately, stating specifically why you want to do that whenever you want to do that. Okay, everyone, so you may go through the whole of your life and never need to use one of these forms, but if you do, now you know you've got a guide for how to do it, and this will be, if it's not already, it will be in the resources section of the members area in the next day or so. Okay, I think we've already put it there actually. Any questions, please just ask and I'll come back to you in just a little moment. Okay, now the next bit here. The collection and use of information for marketing purposes. Let's just go through these line by line. Right? So this one. Now, previously, if someone gave you their contact details, such as an email address, there was nothing to stop you emailing them with offers and promotions. All right? So I'm sure you know the effect of this. All those different years where you opted in for something or gave a free something here, or you downloaded something, or you bought something or purchased something, and then you just know the emails start coming after us because it's a lucrative way for a company to do their business. Okay, and there's nothing to stop people doing that before. The moment you give someone your details, they can just email you away, and that's okay. Right? There's nothing to stop that. However, under the new regulations, you have to get specific consent to do that. Right? And the same with the consent to share information form. That consent cannot be bundled in with something else. It cannot be as part of a big paragraph or something else. Right? The consent to email people and send extra information or offers and so on, it must be a very clear, separate opt-in statement. You've probably come across these already now. So if you go look at a website nowadays and they're asking for details, you've probably got to tick a few boxes, and you can pick and choose what you want, how you want your details to be used. Okay, so these things must be very clear and very separate. And many of you won't even get around to doing this at all for a while, and some of you will never do this. You never need to do this. Okay, but any of you who, if you want to put like free offers on the website, like download a free recording, or get this free guide, or a PDF, or all that kind of stuff. If you do those kind of things, you'll have to be aware of this. All right? But it must be a clear, separate opt-in statement, and it must be what's called a positive action to opt in. I'm not sure that's the proper name for it, but there must be a positive action to opt in rather than a pre-filled checkbox to opt out of. Right. So the old days, you click to request stuff. Quite often there'd be a box there that was pre-ticked saying, yes, please send me lots of spam email and junk email. I wouldn't say that, but that's what it was about, really. You can't do that anymore. So now, if you want someone to opt in to get more information, the box must be clear and unchecked, and they must physically have to tick that box themselves to do that. All right. So if ever or whenever you're setting one of these things up to deliver information and collect information this way, you have to be aware of this now. Separate statement, and the box must be unticked. For many of you, you may never do this, okay? But those of you who are looking to give offers and things like that, you have to take great care about this kind of thing. Next one, okay? If you're asking for contact details in exchange for a free gift, let's say a download, a report, free video, free guide, you'll see these around. I use this myself all over the place. I've been doing these kind of things. And you used to be able to just get someone to opt in for that, and then when they opted in, then they're on the email list, and then you could send them information and follow up with more information. Not always sell stuff, lots of free videos, free trainings, free ideas, all that kind of stuff. And then occasionally you make some offers to people. But nowadays all that's changed, okay? And actually I didn't realize this till recently myself. I was rather unaware of this aspect. But if you're asking for contact details in exchange for like a free gift, such as a download, report, video guide, you must make the freebie thing available without the opt-in option as well. Right? So you must be able to let people just get your free recording, or just get your free download, or just watch your video, whatever it is, and not have to go onto your email list. So the going onto your email list has to be a separate, yes please, I also want to hear more information from you, and occasional offers. Does that make sense? Okay. You're probably getting used to this yourself. Some of you this will be far away from where you're at. Some of you may be close to this. Some of you will never do this. Some of you may be just about to set this kind of thing up. Okay. It makes it slightly more technically challenging to set these things up. It used to be very easy. There are still ways around this, but it's just slightly more complicated now because you have to segregate people who click the button to opt in for information. You can't just put everyone on the same email list. You have to put these people can get it, but no email, and these people can get it, and we can email. Right? So at first glance, this can seem like it's restrictive, but actually, from my perspective as someone who's been running email lists for many, many years, actually, in a way, it's quite nice because it means the people who opt in for the information are going to be the people who are genuinely interested in it. And so you're talking and sending stuff to people who are probably more enthusiastic about receiving it than just some freebie hunters who probably don't care that much. Right? So the big fear is it's quite restrictive and limiting, and you're going to lose people this way. But I think in the long run, actually, it'll probably work out okay. And it just means you get what's called a warmer audience rather than just a big email list and nobody's interested. Okay, good. So the general summary of that is you can't say, I'll only give you my freebie if you let me send you offers afterwards. You can't do that anymore. Right? It has to be, you have to give the choice. Okay. Now I did pursue this with the ICO because the wording says avoid. It says you must avoid making delivery conditional. So I said to them, well, what does that mean? Because avoid means we'll try not to, really. It doesn't say must not. And they gave me quite an ambiguous answer. And I was trying to find out in which circumstances you could get around this, but they were being ambiguous, and I couldn't get a specific answer on that one. Okay, but so the guidelines say, yeah, you must avoid doing this. But so it's best if you can just be compliant with them, and everything's okay. Good. I could give you some pictures and images of that, but I think that's more specific. I'll save that for another time when I do some more marketing stuff for you, and I'll show you those in more detail for the people who are going to be looking to use it, because not everyone will be at this stage just yet. Any questions though, please just ask. I will come back to you. Okay, and all right, oops, let's go back to here. Okay, number 4. So the fourth area is your registration as a data controller with the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office. All right. So under the new under the new regulations, if you're a data controller, then you may have to register with the ICO and pay them an annual fee. Okay, so what is a data controller? So a data controller means a person who either alone or jointly or in common with other persons determines the purposes for which and the manner in which any personal data are to be processed. All right, so the easiest way to understand this is the difference between a data controller and a data processor. So let's say if you have a secretary, like I use a secretary of a company to take all the client bookings and all the details for me. Now they are the data processor for me. They take the phone call, they take the details, and they type it where I ask them to type it, and they send it where I ask them to send it, and they just process the information. Okay, but it's up to me who decides what happens to that. So I am the data controller, and my secretarial company are the data processor. Right? So I am the data controller. Right? So for yourselves, if you take clients' details, clients' information, you become the data controller of that data. All right? If you have a secretary or secretary of a company or assistant, whoever taking that for you, then they are the data processor, but you are still the controller. All right? So in simple terms, the moment you are taking someone's details, you become a data controller in that way. All right? Hope that's clear. So if I'm taking client data, does that make me a data controller and do I have to register? So yes, that makes you a data controller if it's, if you're the owner of the company, the owner of the business, and you're the owner of the practice. But do you have to register as a data controller? Now the standard answer you get from the ICO website, and if you message them, is to take their self-test. All right, and don't do it just yet, because I'm going to explain this to you. You can do the test yourself later on and see what happens. Okay. So, and this self-test has been updated, I think, over a period of time. And I've been through this self-test numerous times, as has Vanessa. We did lots of times way back last year, lots of times a few months ago, and again more recently. And what happens is we got different answers at different times, and each time we vary the answer, with the options available, we got different results. But the most common answer that came up was no, you do not. However, just to be sure, I asked Vanessa to give the ICO a call and speak to them directly. And so here's the reply that they came up with. Okay, and they said that. Okay, so having spoken to the ICO with respect as to whether an independent therapist is required to register and pay a fee, this is their advice. Okay, first of all, they said all therapists should check online. Do I need to register? Found here. Blah blah blah. But the general guidelines they went on to give over the phone are that if you're only keeping notes in paper format, which are locked away, as they should be under the Data Protection Act, then you are exempt from having to register. Okay. Now you're still a data controller, so you still have to be compliant with GDPR. All the other stuff still has to be compliant, but if you're only using paper, you do not have to register with the ICO. That is our understanding at the moment. Okay. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just trying to interpret this my own way. Okay. If you only keep stuff on paper, absolutely fine. Right. If you're only keeping accounts and basic records in any electronic format, phone, iPad, PC, Mac, etc., if you're only keeping those basic details, again, you're still exempt from having to register. Right? You still have to be compliant with GDPR rules and regulations, right? But you don't have to register as a data controller and don't have to pay a fee. Okay. However, if you take any other notes or details about the client, other than their name, email, phone number, payment detail stuff, anything on top of that, and store it electronically, then you do need to register with the ICO. Okay, well, currently it's £40 a year, so it's not too bad. It probably just helps them cover all their admin costs and stuff. All right. Does that seem clear what I'm saying to you there? Okay, so only if you process anything electronically do you have to register. However, okay, if you receive email inquiries from people talking about issues and anxieties and problems, from my understanding, technically that means you have electronic details about a person. It goes above and beyond their basic contact details, and therefore you are in control of their personal information electronically, and therefore you do have to register. Okay? So this is for you to decide whether this fits you or not. Okay? If everything's just on paper, you've got a phone call and take calls that way, and you know email correspondence about details and stuff, no worries, everything's okay. Right? But the moment anything personal goes into electronic format, then you become a data controller of personal details, and you have to register with the ICO. Okay, so simple summary, action list for you. Okay, first of all, you've got to create a privacy policy statement and make this part of your client details form, which they have to have, sign an agreement. I'm not sure. So say what they have to sign. They're going to sign your client details form usually. Okay, that's what I mean. I have to sign that, but your privacy policy statement will usually be attached to that, so they'll be signing the form to say they've agreed it and seen it and read it and all sorts of stuff. Okay, but you can use our template as a guide for that. Right. And also you add the privacy policy statement to the footer of your website as well. Right. So one, create a privacy policy statement which will give you the template for. You can just copy and paste it, cut and paste it, put it into your own client forms. Second, create a consent to share information form. Right. Again, you may never use it in the whole of your lifetime, but it's nice to have on there just in case. Okay. Again, you can use our template as a guide. Number three, anyone using online opt-in forms to collect emails, etc., just make sure you use positive opt-in, have separate statements, it's all segregated out, and you have positive action checkboxes. Okay, and any of you at that stage, just contact me privately if you need extra help with that. But I don't want to go into too much detail because it's a whole different area that many people are not even aware of just yet. All right. Number four, register with the ICO as soon as you're asking clients to fill out a form asking for information beyond their basic contact details and or storing it in electronic format, okay? Including if you're receiving emails, it seems, with personal information in it. That's electronic personal details. Okay, so this is what you need to do. So it doesn't take much, it's a bit of copy and pasting onto your forms if you use it. And for those of you who are dealing with clients electronically in any way, shape or form, go to the ICO website and just register so you're fully compliant with them in that way. Okay? Good. So question, what if I've been taking client details but not issuing a privacy policy or registered with the ICO yet? Okay. Should I worry? Should I panic? Am I about to get a huge fine that we see Google getting $50 million fine or whatever it is the other day? Okay, first of all, just relax. Okay, I'm not saying don't worry about it or don't bother about it. What I'm saying is just relax. Okay, the aim of the ICO is not to go and punish people and fine everybody they can. But the aim is to help people become compliant. So as long as you are doing your best and you're trying to be compliant and you can ask them for information, it's okay, then that's fine. Okay. There's been this period of adjustment while people were learning and trying to get all the details together. I did everything I could to get everything compliant by the deadline, which we did May last year. But individual practitioners, it was quite tricky to get really specific answers. And eventually, what I did, I purchased a legal pack from someone who put some stuff together, and I've been checking that and conversing with the ICO directly. I actually did send information off to both the GHR and the NCH. The GHR got back to me within 48 hours asking for one tiny amendment, which I did, and said, yeah, everything else is great. The NCH, I still have not heard back from them yet. It's about a month ago I sent it off, and so I'm still waiting to hear back from them. But to the best of my knowledge, the information I'm giving you is accurate and will get you in good stead. Okay, so if you've been doing things but are not quite compliant yet, don't worry about it. Just take the next step and you will be. Okay. Which is make a privacy policy, get a client form, and check if you need to register with the ICO. There we go. Hope that helps, and hope that clarifies what GDPR means to you, the legal side of it for yourselves, what you're required to do, your obligations nowadays, and the simple action steps you need to take. And hopefully they should already be uploaded, but I will check in a moment. If they're not there already, they'll be done by tomorrow. Some templates for you to use to make this even easier for you. Good. Okay, let me just see if you've got any questions. I'll come over and have a quick chat with you and make sure everything is okay. Okay, Adam just introduced me into trance. God, myself as well, I think. All right. Let's have a look. Slim questions. Mary says, similar to the old data protection. Yeah, if it's on paper, you're okay. If it's on computing, you need to register. Yeah, but if there's any emails at all, my understanding is email counts as electronic storage of data about personal data, so just be aware of that. Okay. Probably saying register to put them today. My obligation runs out May. They don't refund, so make sure you know what's right before you pay. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that? I mean, it's not exactly the most exciting of topics, this, but it's an important one nowadays, and one we have to pay attention to. Let's see what it says. If everyone's good and we're all clear with that, I can just let it all go, and I'll check all this is uploaded and make sure those templates are there for you so you can use them straight away. No chat's coming at the moment, so thanks. Adam, welcome back. That's good. You're welcome. Just digesting. Okay, great. Most of it's very, very simple. Just privacy policy on the back of your client form, that's all. All right. If you're using any online marketing stuff, have to use very special opt-in boxes. And if you're having anything electronic, you need to register with the ICO. It's kind of that simple, really. Okay, good. I'll give this another 30 seconds in case anyone's got a question. Otherwise, I'll say thank you so much. That's okay, Bev. You're great. Thanks, everybody. And sometimes these admin things, we have to just go through this. It all works in everyone's benefit eventually. They can be a bit irritating to have to go through first of all, but in the end, it all comes good for everybody. So, great. Hi, everybody. You're welcome. Mary, Elena, lovely, Paul. That's great. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for that. I shall let you get on. I'm going to process this and upload it all now, and then we can get back onto different topics for the next couple of webinars. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming along, and take care. We'll see you all soon. Cheers, everybody.